Work with athletes, some of the D1 athletes up at UVM, and also with club sports and intramurals. So I hope you guys learned something today. The beginning, I just really wanted to talk about the general sports nutrition basics, because that's really what we're going to be pulling from when we go to eating on the road in restaurants. Those same general nutrition guidelines still apply. It's just a little harder to maybe put them into practice. So if you have a really pertinent question, please feel free to raise your hand. I definitely will leave time at the end for questions as well. Speaking of which, how much time do we have?
What are you about that?
I figured about an hour, just so. Okay, cool. All right. So I just usually start presentations off with a quote. I thought this fit pretty well. So, good food choices will not make a mediocre athlete into a champion, but poor food choices may prevent the potential champion from realizing his or her potential. So we all have genetics, right? And we all can make the most of those genetics with training, nutrition, proper rest, sleep. But we basically, not everybody can be an athlete as you guys are. So you're here, you have the genetics, you have the training down. Now the nutrition really can bring you to the next level. Goals of sports nutrition, just kind of running through the importance of it, is really that day-to-day quality nutrition is really what's going to make you a better athlete. You're going to be able to train harder, perform better. You can't just eat like crap all the time and then eat well game day or the day before and expect to be at your optimal performance. It really has to be something that you do day in and day out. And then on those event days, that is a time where you can optimize, or the day before, but you really have to have that good base in order to pull from to support that training and just general overall health. So we want to be able to provide the energy that your bodies require. So as you're burning through all those calories, we have to replace those. As we're breaking down muscle fibers, we have to be able to rebuild them and rest. It's also going to give you the right vitamins and minerals to support metabolism, keep our bones strong, keep our immune system strong. Maintaining energy reserve. So does anybody recognize that word glycogen? Anybody in biochemistry or anything? Okay, so glycogen is our storage form of carbohydrates. It's what we use as we're exercising for longer periods of time. So the carbohydrates you ate at lunch, they will fuel you for a little bit, but when those run out, the glycogen in your muscles and your liver is going to give you that fuel to continue to exercise at the level that you need to. Rebuilding muscle, so we have that constant breakdown. We need to be able to get enough protein and carbohydrates in the right time in order to rebuild the muscle and replace that glycogen. General maintenance of the body, so we can't be sick, we have to be healthy, so making sure that we're just keeping our overall health in mind, and the hydration piece is really important as well. As athletes, we're going to be sweating, and you have to be replacing that appropriately. So generally about a milliliter per calorie. So if you were, again, this is without being in the summer. So in the summer, you're going to need a lot more water. But say you were on a 2,500 calorie diet, you'd need at least 2.5 liters. So if you're on a 4,000 calorie diet, you need about 4 liters or 2 soda bottles a day of fluid. So not all diet, there's no one size diet for anybody. We all come in different shapes. We have different amounts of muscle. Some of us are tall, some of us are short. We play different sports, and all of this is going to affect what your individual nutrition needs are, but basic nutrition guidelines still apply to athletes. So I think that's really important for us to realize. We still need all of those. Although we need a lot of calories, we still need fruits and vegetables. We still need dairy. So the basic kind of things you probably grew up hearing, like eat your fruits and vegetables, drink your milk, it still applies. So balancing that intake is really important. Getting a variety of foods, eating moderately within your energy needs. So that basically means you might have 4,000 calories to spend in a day, but let's make them nutritious choices and not cookies and chips all day. That's not going to impact your nutrition in a good way. And then the last piece, consuming alcohol in moderation or not at all. So that's going to provide us no benefit for performance. So what's the major difference in nutritional needs between a sedentary person and an athlete? What maybe is different for you guys as opposed to somebody that sits in an office all day?
You're more active.
You're more active, so what do we need more of?
More calories.
More calories, yes.
We probably require much more calories than someone just sit around all day.
Yep, exactly. So that's the main difference. There are definitely smaller differences in terms of how much protein you need or the amount of carbohydrates, but the main difference is the amount of energy that you're burning and therefore require. So just to kind of put this into perspective, we have this 5-foot gymnast, you know, she maybe weighs 120 pounds, and we have this wrestler who's probably a 300-pound wrestler, and of course they're going to need different amounts of food, and but really the difference is the amount of calories and the amount of energy that he requires as opposed to our gymnast. So what we know, sports nutrition, we could talk about this for a semester. You could have, you know, 4 years of school, but we're trying to really distill this down into things you guys can take away. We do know food is our fuel, and that the better we eat, the better the performance. We also know there's a lot of research on nutrient timing and when we're eating, what that combination of food looks like, and so we're going to talk about that a little bit because that certainly impacts our performance as well. So how many of you guys know how many calories or how much energy you need in a day? Anybody have any clue? Okay.
2,500.
Okay. So it's going to be different for everybody, but it's really important for you as an athlete to kind of know where you're kind of shooting for. So it's going to really vary. I have given an example, but I've given a few websites. So the first one is the USDA. It's an interactive. It gives you the calories, protein, carbohydrates. It kind of based on your activity level, and of course the more, you know, if we're in a training day versus an off-season day, things are going to look different, but it gives you at least some kind of baseline, because everything that you talk about in terms of meal planning is going to be based on the amount of calories or that amount of energy that you need. Another one is MyFitnessPal. That's pretty popular because people can plug in their exercise, and you can kind of see, wow, I exercised for 2 hours today. I burned 800 or 900 calories. So how am I going to refuel? So those are two resources I would give you. I just wanted to give you an example to put this in perspective. This is an active woman that's about 5'7" and 130 pounds. Her needs were about 2,700 or almost 2,800. So if we're 6'5" and 250 pounds, that's going to be a much higher number. Going to see the carbohydrate needs are pretty high, and a lot of people, in this day and age, we have lots of low carbohydrate diets that are really popular. Not the diet plan for an athlete. We need to be consuming lots of carbohydrates. They are our friend in terms of energy and replacing that glycogen. Protein needs, I've kind of made a little caveat here. Protein needs are higher for athletes than general adults. Not astronomically so, but I also, using a lot of the equations, this is underestimated. So this is using grams per kilogram, and if we put that into the context of what 2,700 calories would be, I usually like athletes to shoot 10 to 20% of their calories coming from protein. So I would have bumped that up, but I'm just saying.
And Nicole, correct me if I'm wrong, but
yeah.
When we look on the back of any kind of box of food, it shows the nutritional content.
Yes.
That's all based upon a 2,000 calories per day, right?
Yes. Yeah, so, that's what the FDA has decided that we're going to base our labels on. So a lot of people will look at the percentage under the daily value, it's the last one over, and say like, oh, 5% of my day or 20%. Well, that would be true if you needed 200 or 2,000 calories, but if you need more than that, then it's not exactly super useful. The grams is what you're going to see though. So you'd see, okay, this protein drink has 15 grams of protein. So that would be a number that you could use. So. And then anything that's left over that is not a carbohydrate or a protein is going to be fat, right? Because those are the only things that contain calories other than alcohol. So energy balance. So just a question to make sure we're all still awake. How do we know if we're in energy balance? Energy balance means that our intake is about what our output is. So how do we know if we're in balance? If we eat too much, what would happen? If we were eating more than we were burning? This is not a trick question.
You'd probably put on weight.
You'd gain weight, right. And if you're not eating enough and you're exercising too much or you're not replacing enough, what happens? You're going to lose weight. And when we lose weight, we often lose muscle, right? We lose fat, but we also lose muscle. And in a season, that is not what we want. Muscles where you're getting your strength, that's going to help you in your performance. So, all right, so nourishment, our total daily energy intake. And when I say energy, that's calories. So carbohydrates for athletes, generally I say 50 to 70% based on what your sport is. It might be a little different. So if you are an endurance runner, you'd probably be closer to the 70%. If you're a team sport athlete, basketball, baseball, soccer, you might be 50 to 60%. So it's going to vary based on your sport. Protein needs, again, this is kind of a big variance, but 10 to 35%. And if you're a strength athlete, like if you're into lifting and bodybuilding, you're going to be on the higher percentage. And if you are an endurance athlete, we only have 100%. If we use 70 on carbohydrates, then we only have 10% maybe for protein. And then 20 to 35% from fat. So fat plays a really important role. We're going to talk about fat as well, but diets that are too low in fat are not good either. So we're going to talk a little bit about that, but alcohol is also going to be providing calories. It's certainly not a form of nutrition. So it's going to be kind of putting you at a deficit, but it does provide about 7 calories per gram. Expenditure, energy expended at rest. So on the next slide I'm going to talk about it, but most people think, well, I didn't exercise today, so I didn't really burn that much. But you'll see on the next slide that's kind of, it's an underestimated, most of our metabolic rate or the calories that we're burning is at rest to keep us breathing, to keep our digestion going, to keep our brains functioning, to replace all of the processes that's happening in our body. Brushing your teeth, it seems like it's not a big task, but that's where most of our calories are being spent in a day. Physical activity, it really kind of depends. Obviously, this was of an athlete, so physical activity was a higher percentage. If you sit on your butt all day, that's going to be a very low number. And then just digestion in itself has a separate area. So thermal effective feeding, just to digest those calories you put in your body takes about 10% of your digestion, your metabolic rate. So carbohydrates are our main source of energy as an athlete. We need to consume them in order to optimize that muscle right before we perform, and also to replace that glycogen, that storage form of carbohydrate. It is a higher percentage of our diet, and it depends on sport. So I've given you guys a few hints, but what are some examples of carbohydrates? Pasta, okay. What else is on the screen? Got a lot of stuff. Fruits, okay. Rice.
I know your names, I'll start calling people.
All right. Bagels, bread, wraps, quinoa, beans, fruit, milk. So these are all of our sources of carbohydrates. Lots of foods have carbohydrate in them. What about proteins? I gave you a lot of ideas here. So we have what are meats? Chicken, turkey, beef, pork, eggs,
I'm
fish.
always amazed how much like the chickpeas and the kidney beans and that kind of stuff. Like, I know Ben, you eat healthy salads left and right. Do you throw them on there? No, I mean seriously, because a few years back my wife convinced me to turn vegan. So for about 4 months, all I did was eat vegan food, and if it wasn't for the chickpeas and the kidney beans and the black beans, I almost withered up and died, actually, when Sodexo closed for the summer and I had to rely on myself cooking at home every day. I was turning gray. People were getting concerned for me. I had to go get a steak, you know, but that's the kind of stuff that is huge, especially when we're traveling.
Yeah. Yeah, so a lot of people just think of meat and dairy as your proteins, but yeah, animal foods certainly, or I'm sorry, plant foods certainly contain them as well. And you guys have a great vegan bar upstairs, which I tried today, so you guys are pretty lucky. If you want tempeh or tofu, it's there. Protein needs, I've kind of broken this down by activity level, and so the sedentary adults at the top need about 0.8 grams per kilogram. We think in terms of pounds, so I've given you that as well. Strength athletes, so that's going to be, you know, lifting, endurance athletes are a little bit lower. So for most of you guys, 1.2 to 1.4 grams per kilogram, or about 0.5 to 0.6 grams per pound. So if you're 250 pounds, you'd need about 125 grams of protein. Fats, these are going to help absorb those vitamins. They also make food taste good. And they also help us meet our calorie needs. So if we're eating a very low fat diet, we'd have to eat a lot of other carbohydrates and proteins in order to meet those high energy needs that we already talked about. And certainly quality of fat is really important to kind of think about. So we all know, like, junk foods and a lot of fast food has a lot of fat. And that's the saturated fats or trans fats, which aren't as healthy for us, though they can still be part of a healthy diet plan as an athlete every once in a while, not every day. But certainly you want to have a cheat or a splurge. Then our healthy fats, we think of nuts, peanut butter, avocado, olive oil, canola oil, salad dressings, things like that. Those are a little bit healthier for us. Hydration, just wanted to kind of touch on this because it is part of nutrition, certainly. If you're not properly hydrated, you're not going to perform as well as you can. So a fluid loss of about 2% of your body weight, decreased cognitive functioning, not able to process things as quickly, and it lowers your aerobic performance in terms of cardio output. A 2.5 pound weight loss during exercise means that you've lost about a liter of fluid in your body. We've probably all heard by the time you're thirsty, it's too late, right? We're already dehydrated at that point. So the sports drink is encouraged for exercise longer than 60 minutes. And that really is to help, again, replace that glycogen and make sure we still have enough carbohydrates to burn as fuel. Eating salty foods can help you rehydrate after workout as well. So salt is
on a lot of our longer bus rides.
Yeah.
The end of getting dehydrated then a little easier. When should you focus on hydration? Should it be the day of a game, the day before a game? When's the
1 to 2 days before is really where that's going to make the biggest impact. Certainly the day of. It's tough when we're traveling. Do we have bathrooms in the bus?
We do.
Okay, yep. Good, because then at least you're not like trying to not drink in order so you don't have to stop. But yeah, it's still it's tricky. If you're hydrating just the day of, it's probably too late. So nutrient timing, a little bit about this. So we've talked about the day-to-day nutrition so far. We're going to touch on pre-event or pre-training nutrition during the event, and then a little on post-training. So this is kind of what we've been talking about, right? Breakfast. How many of you guys eat breakfast? Every day? Most days? Okay. So I only saw a few hands up. Okay. So breakfast is really important. It's, you know, we've heard it's the most important meal of the day, but I know for some of you, you probably have early practices, and you kind of sometimes have to force it in order for you to get it in. But it really is important in terms of getting the most out of that training practice. It's going to help jumpstart your metabolism, and you're also going to see better concentration and performance. So it could be, depending on how much time you have, I kind of broke it down, like if you're going to the dining hall, you might grab an omelet, maybe with some toast, or toasted peanut butter and some bananas, oatmeal with berries, or again, I like a little bit of protein in there, so you might throw some seeds or some peanut butter on top, whole grain cereal with some milk and fruit. If you're on the go, which college students generally don't have a whole lot of time, and so I hear we're eating on the go a lot, definitely for breakfast. Maybe having some protein bars in your room, or grabbing a sandwich to go, a vegetable breakfast sandwich, or one with maybe turkey bacon or something with not too much fat that's going to make you feel kind of gross. Smoothie or yogurt parfait, something like that, easy to digest. Pre-exercise, really here we're going to try to top up those energy reserves as much as we can. We're also focusing on hydration at that point. So the biggest thing is not one thing works for everybody. So some people have really sensitive digestion, so you really have to figure out what works best for you. Nobody can really tell you what's going to be the best pre-workout or pre-event meal. But if you are going to eat a larger meal, like 2 to 4 hours out, you can have more food, and you can also have more food groups. So the more fat and fiber we have, the longer it's going to take to digest. So if you're going to have a meal that's more substantial, you should really time it 2 to 4 hours in advance. So this is really kind of like your breakfast, or if it's a night meal, it could certainly be like a sandwich or something more substantial. Bagel with cream cheese, smoothies with toast and butter, peanut butter and jelly sandwich with a banana and milk, but we have a lot of volume there. If you don't have a whole lot of time, so optimally we would eat maybe 4 hours before and then top off 30 to 60 minutes before. Again, that takes a lot of planning, but it's possible. We're going to go for something really just simple carbohydrates before. So sports drink, sports gel, gummies, could be raisins or dried fruit, a piece of whole fruit, toast with jam, fig Newtons, maybe like a Nature Valley plain oats and honey bar, but nothing with a lot of fat in it. That's kind of what we're preventing. During exercise, really we're focusing on hydration and carbohydrates, so simple carbohydrates. So it could be a sports drink every 20 to 30 minutes, over halftime. If you're sitting out for a little bit, that's definitely a good time. And really the goal is about 25 grams of carbohydrate every 20 to 30 minutes. So you can kind of think a gram of carbohydrate every minute, and that works pretty well. Post-exercise, really ideally we have a 30-minute window where if we eat in that time, we're going to do the most in terms of repairing that glycogen and the muscle that's been broken down. So we're focused on carbohydrates and protein and hydration after the event. So as we break down protein, that releases a lot of nitrogen into our body, and we really have to flush that out. So drinking lots of fluids afterwards is really important. About 2 to 3 cups of water for every pound of weight loss during exercise. So some people, depending on the athlete, you can certainly see about what you would burn during a regular basketball game by weighing yourself before and after the game and see how much you've lost. In the summer, if you're exercising outside, that's going to be a way different. So it's good to kind of just have a sense of how much you sweat and how much you need to replace that with. And then electrolytes. Fortunately, if you're drinking a sports beverage, if you're exercising for a long period, there is sodium and potassium in those. So that's going to help. Certainly, fruits and vegetables contain these, and dairy as well. So a lot of people have heard chocolate milk is a perfect recovery drink, and that's because it has a good ratio of carbs to protein, and it also is a good source of potassium. So if you tolerate it, that's great. Certainly something like chocolate soy milk or chocolate lactate would do as well, but not as easy to find. So some different snack ideas. A lot of these foods are going to repeat themselves over and over because they are good, complete foods. They're whole foods. So you might put together a smoothie. You might have, again, a protein bar or a sports bar, graham crackers with peanut butter, some chocolate milk, a bowl of cereal with some milk and fruit, banana and peanut butter. So some of these are certainly travel friendly, not all of them, but. And then within 2 to 4 hours, generally, you want to have a meal. So really focusing on a balanced meal, getting back to nutrition basics, and I've given you guys some ideas. So it could be something like a sandwich or a sub with some fruit and some milk. It could be like a rice bowl or a burrito. You might have some beans, cheese, salsa, avocado, maybe some beef or chicken. Could be a stir fry, not one that's fried, but something that's pretty lightly sauteed with some lean proteins and a big pile of brown rice. Could be chicken breast with a baked potato, some vegetables, maybe a wheat roll and some fruit. So again, that kind of looks like that My Plate from the beginning. We've hit all of the food groups. And that's ideally what we'd be doing after. Another question, I guess. So what are some of the favorite meals you guys have here on campus? Any favorites that you think are good choices?
I don't got that many choices.
Don't have that many choices, okay. All right.
Lindsay, what's in the caf?
Is it easier to eat in the cafeteria than on the road? Eat well? Eat healthy?
I like the salad bar on campus.
Nice.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
So if we're having a salad as a main meal, we might have to add a lot of toppings
there's
and
stuff in there to add for sure.
awesome. Good source of carbohydrate.
One of these guys just mentioned fish, and I've almost never seen fish up there. Is it? You guys ever get?
We live off campus.
Oh,
yeah, we do a lot of fishing in the fall, so we eat a lot of fish.
Nice.
Do they ever offer fish here?
No.
No.
Chicken patties and cheeseburgers.
Chicken nuggets and cheeseburgers. Okay. All right. So the nutrition information, I don't know if you guys have noticed in the cafeteria, but it is listed. So if you were focusing maybe on carbohydrates or seeing how much protein you were getting in a day, it would be on every sign what that would look like. If anybody has allergies, that's also listed. The menus are also posted online at the dining website, so you could actually do some meal planning in advance. And there are some pretty cool tools. You can actually click everything you might eat for a week and give you kind of a summary. Okay, am I only eating 2,000 calories or am I closer to that 3,500, 4,000 calorie mark that I'm really aiming for? And we also have the Mindful program, which is basically, if you see a little apple upstairs, that's going to be the sign for mindful. It means that it's kind of the healthy choice. It's going to be lean protein, some vegetables, so that's going to make it a little easier for you guys. And has anybody used MyFitnessPal before? So that's one of those tracking nutrition and fitness apps, and there are barcodes upstairs. If you scan the barcode, that will actually go right into the app. And you can also look up pretty much every recipe should be in there, minus the vegan station because those are original recipes. But this is an example of one of the mindful meals. So that's the barcode that you'd scan with your phone. So that's available. And just to kind of put this in perspective, I just wanted to give you guys an idea of what a day might look like. So one of the first things that I notice when I look at this is there's definitely a lot of food there, but it's also timed pretty evenly. So we have breakfast, then we have a morning snack, then we have lunch, then we have an afternoon snack, then we have dinner, then we have an evening snack. You're really eating like every few hours. So your job is basically to perform and to eat well, hopefully. So really focusing on protein at every meal. Just eating protein at night is not going to be great. We really do use it better if we consume it through the day. So if you eat meat and eggs, this first menu is for you. So we have some maybe eggs, some toast, some peanut butter, some fruit. We have some nuts or a protein bar for a snack, maybe a sandwich, some, again, fruit, some vegetables and hummus. We have a snack, so maybe like a yogurt parfait, something like that. Dinner, you have kind of that balanced meal that we talked about, and then you might have a night snack. So focus here on, still the evening snacks are not an excuse to eat all the junk food that you've missed all day, but really to make it a good healthy choice as well. So focusing on that protein still. And then if we're a vegetarian, you can still meet your protein needs and all your nutritional needs as an athlete, but it just takes a little bit more practice. So you might have some oatmeal with some berries and some skim milk, or a bagel with peanut butter. Or for lunch, let's see, the snacks are pretty similar for both, but you might have hummus and cheese instead of that meat sandwich. And maybe you throw some beans in there, so black bean salad. For dinner, you might do a tofu stir fry with a big salad. And Evening snack, half a peanut butter and jelly, maybe. All right. So one of the big topics that athletes always want to talk about is eating on the road, right? Because it's not as easy as maybe eating when you're in control and when you really can kind of plan ahead. So it can be challenging, but it's not impossible. So kind of where the team is stopping definitely is going to impact the availability of those healthy options or the variety. So that might be a conversation to have with the coaches, like, planning where you're going to stop. I don't know.
Where do we stop, guys?
The grocery store.
McDonald's.
Come on, tell the good stuff. We stop at the grocery store.
Subway, grocery store.
Yeah.
Yep. Grocery stores are great because you have a lot of variety. You certainly have some of your prepared foods, but you also have a lot of just whole foods that you can grab. Subway actually is one of your better options. Panera, if you see any of those.
Taco Bell.
Yeah, tacos and that kind of stuff tend to be, that's another option. And there are healthy options at every one of these. At KFC, you don't have to get the crispy or the double crispy chicken. You can get, a chicken breast, or you can get a wrap with chicken.
I found out the chicken tacos are really healthy, so I didn't have a problem ordering 3 extra the other day. Figured I'm being healthy now.
There you go.
Great. Mexican places tend to be pretty good. Chipotle or Moe's, I really like if you see them. So those are some good options too. But if you are at a sit-down place, a lot of the chain restaurants have their healthier menu now. And what's nice about any chain restaurant is at least you can ask to know what the nutrition is, and the calories will be posted right on the menu. So, if you're getting a meal that's 2,000 calories of friedness, that's probably not a good choice. But we all make those choices sometimes, so that's okay too. Really aiming for that lean protein. So when I say lean protein, what does that mean?
Protein with not a lot of fat.
Exactly. So probably not breaded or crispy or fried, but something that might be chicken, turkey, something fairly lean. Sandwiches, they're a good staple because you can throw some vegetables in there. You can get a lot of protein on there. You can always ask for extra protein or extra meat. You might get pizza, right? Do we ever stop for pizza?
After.
Yeah. So something like a pepperoni or sausage, maybe not as healthy, but at least maybe throw in a side salad if you're gonna make that choice. So you're getting those vitamins that your body's really in need of. Shelf-stable snacks, so you can kind of pack these ahead of time, right? So fruits, apples, bananas, oranges, things like that. Celery and peanut butter, maybe. Carrots and hummus, maybe. Depending on how in-depth you want to get. Granola bars seem to be the easiest, probably. Trail mix, that's another easy one.
And on that list, is that the stuff we can eat 30 to 60 minutes before a game too? Is that?
Yeah, fruits definitely. Probably the others I would give at least an hour for like a trail mix or a protein bar, because it's going to take a little bit. It's going to sit heavy in the stomach. Crackers, definitely. Just plain crackers you could eat, or even, I'm trying to think, like Cheez-Its or something.
Should we be avoiding dairy? I was told that a few years ago, like on game days prior to events, because it's tough to digest.
Not necessarily. Only if you have lactose intolerance would it be really an issue right before the game. It's different for everybody though. If you notice, like a lot of people get, it's like their saliva gets really thick and it's hard to sometimes like breathe and get that out. So if that's you, stay away from it, before the game. But otherwise, it can be a really easy source of carbohydrates to consume. It's usually more of a post nutrition snack or meal, I would say. But so late night snacking, added this in because it can actually help you meet those high energy needs if you didn't eat enough through the day. But really, again, the same nutrition guidelines kind of apply. Trying to get some fiber, some protein, not just wasting it away on junk food. So some examples of that, you might have crackers and cheese, yogurt and fruit, hummus and carrots, peanut butter on bread. Again, these are kind of looking the same, but these are going to be healthy options. Cereal, cottage cheese, and fruit. And there's a lot of research in terms of protein before bed. So that generally is well accepted and recommended, that especially if you're trying to build muscle or lean body mass, something with casein, which is going to be a slower kind of protein, and dairy. The amino acid leucine is really important in terms of building that muscle mass. So cottage cheese is very high in that, a casein powder in a smoothie or something like that. And then whey protein is what people are more familiar with. That's going to be best right after the exercise, so within that 20 to 30 minute window. Have to throw something in about supplements. Don't have to, but I would like to. The Academy of Nutrition and Dietetics and the American College of Sports Medicine both agree that the use of vitamin and mineral supplements does not improve performance in individuals consuming a nutritionally adequate diet. So we want to put food first. We don't want to rely on supplements to give us that optimal diet. So some of the supplements are not regulated in this country, so really they can claim whatever they want. So if you are using a supplement, I would, you can always talk to your doctor or somebody that you trust about it, but getting a third-party certification on that to say, yes, indeed, this is what's in it, because some of them in the past have, especially those geared towards athletes, have not been safe. And then kind of just to summarize, basically, this is kind of a checklist you can see, like, how am I doing overall in that day-to-day? You know, did I eat breakfast? Did I eat 3 meals? Did I eat a few snacks? Did we get fruits and vegetables? Did we eat dairy or something with calcium in it? So it could be soy milk, or it could be almond milk, or it could be a lot of greens. Are we eating protein at every meal? Carbohydrates at every meal? Are we eating too much fat? Are we eating not enough? Did we drink enough water? Are we using sports beverages if we're exercising more than 60 minutes? And are you refueling after that workout or game? So just something to kind of think about.